So today's video is going to be about some of my non-academic plans for the next 6 to 9 months. Let's go. Now before I begin, and for this video to make sense a little bit more, and it's possible that this video is someone's first. Hi, my name is Moran. I am a university teacher. I'm a linguist, as well as a storyteller and a musician. And these videos are designed for me to just talk. I don't have any specific purpose with them. Doing these just super fun. Anywho, back in the COVID days, and this is like early 2000, I want to say 19. I was on the cusp of finishing my 4th French album. I released my first album in 2000, I don't even remember when. I want to say 9 or 10. The second one was around 2014-15, and the third one was around 2018 or 17. Right after I finished that album, I moved on to working on the 4th album, since I was feeling, and I still am in many ways, very creative and productive, and specifically because so many of the ideas that I had for that 3rd album I wasn't able to finish because of deadlines and obligations and contracts and stuff, which is no longer a problem. That I'll explain in a second. And so I let those projects, I kept them in a separate folder, and I said, all right, I will work on them once the 3rd album, which is translated to Identity, is finished. So part of the reason that my 3rd album, Identité or Identity, was not that much of, I like to use the word success, was I guess twofold. At the time I was working with a publishing company that, through no fault of their own, fell onto financial distress towards the end of my project. The big cheese at the top, he was one of my really good friends, and I don't think he was being deceitful or dishonest. So I wanted to minimize, or we wanted to minimize, the amount of, I guess, campaigning and advertisement and like events. That's part of the reason. The second part was that this was very in the early days of COVID, and the whole world was shocked and dazed and completely confused as to where we are in the world. How can we like survive this? And finally, I had just been outlawed in my country as a musician. So a very healthy combination of these 3 elements pushed us to not really focus very hard on publishing, campaigning, running shows and everything, like signing sessions, introduction, release events. So it really left a bitter taste in my mouth, which made me kind of feel like, all right, this is the end of my career. Still to this day, I don't really consider myself as a musician or as an artist first. My priorities have always been my really true passion of applied linguistics and sciences and teaching and all of the academic life. However, in between the downtimes and like the weekends and everything, I just cannot help but retrograde, but go back to, I guess, my roots would be a good way of wording it, because I'm not like a super social person. I don't really attend events. I don't have a ton of like friends to spend time with. So for me, as is the case with, I'm assuming, a lot of people, specifically after the days of the COVID, this is all about finding ways to keep yourself busy and entertained and happy. And for me, it was always seeking refuge within the realms of music. Now, not to digress too much, but the idea for me was to create, it's always been like this. I always wanted to do music the way that I wanted, without constraints, without limitations, without any imposed framework, right? That was, and that is always going to be the MO of how I want to work. And I'm not saying that I was forced or imposed any specific message or content for my previous albums, but because of my stature back in the old country, I needed to make sure certain criteria are met. And that was fine for that timeline, but that timeline is finished. When I arrived here in this incredibly amazing city a few years ago, the plan was a total reset while maintaining what is value and getting rid of what is devalue, if it makes any sense. And so for the fourth album, the idea was and is to create something a little more open for dialogue and open for, like I wanted to put a lot of myself, a lot more than of myself in the music that I'm making. So that is why I want to, I guess, fulfill and compensate for what didn't happen in the past while still maintain my own integrity as an artist. Does it make sense? And so the idea was to set a starting point and move from there. And my starting point, I want it to be the music festival. I want that to restart, to reignite the passion, to redo, to re-push me more onto the art that I love so much, and I can create through ever so freely compared to what I could do like a few years ago. That is why I really need to make sure that the festival thing happens so that it can like domino affect the other parts of my plan. So we have the festival, which could be in a month. After that, I will start laying the plans for my own show in October. And then from October, it's going to be hopefully a series of incredibly amazing like steps, like chess steps for the big Checkmate. Now, let me tell you what I mean when I say Checkmate. I don't know. I don't have a plan for what is like the big moment in the Checkmate is going to be. It could be like a big show, it could be like an event, but what I do know is that the way that the world is moving forward, at least the way that my world is moving forward, allows me to take very, very small risks and not feel like I'm losing a lot. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue my job when the time comes, and I'm going to try to see how much more of music, how much more of this art I can be a part of as much as I can, and well, we'll see. Every decision that I've made when it comes to music for the past couple of years has been leading to something, and that's not something that I can say happened very consciously or very normally or naturally. I think it was completely unconscious, because when I arrived here a few years ago, I was sure that music is going to be always a very personal and just vibey thing that I'll be doing. The intention was never, and I don't think it's ever going to be, something that takes center stage, that takes like the main part of my life. That is why I adore these days, because I get to do what I want while having less or fewer notions of stress for my life. And that's a luxury. That's a luxury I'm not going to take very lightly. And to wrap this video up, two things. One, it would be super cool if you liked what I've been doing and how I'm telling a story, to do like the YouTube thing. That would be super awesome. I want to see if I can increase the number of the people that I can talk to by the end of summer or by the end of the year. And two, well, as is the case with pretty much all of these videos, enjoy this performance. Have a great day. Have a great life wherever you are, whenever you are. Stay safe, stay sane. Peace. It's supposed to be a cool QR moment. Have a great time. At the time, I was working with a publishing company. Can I finish my... I don't think I chose a good place for this.